morning, everybody. Oh, it's nice and cool here. It's a bit hot out there. All right, well, good morning, Queensland. And today we've got some great wind turbines here behind us. And these are going to be transported out to west of Warwick in our Southern Downs precinct, our renewable energy zone. And there'll be 180 more of these coming in. But what I want to see is more of these. I want these made in Queensland. This is a vote of confidence by energy companies investing in Queensland. Ever since we released our Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan, we are seeing massive investment. Annastacia is now investing $2 billion in Queensland. And as I said today, there'll be an extra 180 wind turbines going out into the Western Downs, which makes this one of the largest wind farm precincts in the Southern Hemisphere. And of course it means jobs for Queenslanders. As we transition out of our coal-fired powered energy plants, they'll be transformed into clean energy hubs. And what we are seeing behind us here today is the future. 70% renewable energy by 2032, and very pleased to see this massive investment in Queensland with billions of dollars to come, because the Queensland government put forward our Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan. I'll hand over to the Deputy Premier. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks so much, Premier. Our Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan is creating jobs right across Queensland, and today we're announcing, along with Annastacia, that they will take what is already the biggest wind farm project in Australia and make it one of the biggest in the world, doubling its size to make the MacIntrye Wind Farm Precinct. These 180 turbines will create 600 jobs in construction. Of course, more jobs at our building the supergrid. There's even more jobs building the supergrid to make sure that that energy can go from these wind turbines to where we need to use it, to our households and to our heavy industry, allowing our heavy industry to create even more jobs, exporting into markets demanding cleaner, greener projects. The precinct will see $4 billion invested all up. But as the Premier said, eventually we want to stop importing all of this equipment and start making it here. The scale of our Energy and Jobs Plan makes that possible, and the prospectus that we issued, the manufacturing opportunities prospectus that we issued alongside the plan, has seen more than 230 companies express an interest in establishing or expanding their manufacturing projects here in Queensland, of course creating even more jobs.
Treasurer?
Thanks, Premier. The investment by Annastacia demonstrates just how important the Queensland Jobs and Energy Plan is. The Energy and Jobs Plan that we've released for Queensland gives the investment confidence and certainty that companies like Annastacia need to make big investments in our state. And this is a big investment indeed. In fact, the MacIntrye Wind Precinct will be the biggest power station in Queensland. At 2,000 megawatts, it'll be bigger than our largest coal-fired power station at Tarong near Kingaroy. At 360 turbines in total, it'll be the biggest wind farm in the country by a country mile. And it will generate 4 times as much power as the next largest wind farm in the country. This is just the start for Queensland. Queenslanders know through our Energy and Jobs Plan we will own the power grid, we will own the transmission network, we're going to own deep storage, and that sends a strong signal for investment, but also a strong signal that advanced manufacturing and heavy industry has a big and bright future in this state for many decades to come.
Well, this is another incredible vote of confidence in the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan. The announcement today that Annastacia will deliver the largest wind farm precinct in the country is a significant step forward for Australia's energy system. When we see wind farms like these ones making up the majority of the energy market, that's when we'll achieve our independence from global volatile fossil fuel markets that are driving up energy costs. Today's announcement means cheaper, cleaner energy for Queenslanders and all Australians. And I spoke before about our vote of confidence in the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan. Its companion document, the Blueprint, which sets out exactly how much wind, solar, deep storage and transmission we need to build, calls for 2,980 megawatts of new wind by the middle of this decade. The projects that are under construction and announced today will deliver 2/3 of those new wind resources required. This is a massive step forward for our renewable energy future.
Morning everyone. My name's Brett Wickham. I'm the Managing Director of Acciona here in Australia, Acciona Energy. It's wonderful to have all our precinct partners with us here today. So CleanCo, Arc Energy are here with us today. Also PowerLink, Paul Simshouse is here from PowerLink, who have been instrumental in helping us develop not only the MacIntrye and Carrara wind farms, but also now moving on to Herries Range, our new asset that we're announcing this morning. I also don't want to forget the communities that have been involved in the projects. Our investment in social licence is second to none, and we continue to do that. If we're going to grow renewables in Queensland, the Premier and I were talking last week, we must maintain our social licence, and we must take the communities along the journey and listen to communities. So that's so important to us. Energy and Jobs Plan, I mean, this is the key. It gives us a pathway to move forward on renewables. It's now fantastic that the federal government is on board and put targets in legislation, but we had targets in Queensland here well before the feds got on board, and that was fantastic. But now the Queensland government has taken it a step further, and we have a clear pathway to for how to deliver renewables, but not only that, but deliver jobs and manufacturing in Queensland. So it's absolutely fantastic. And from a renewables perspective, not only does it cover wind, solar, batteries, but also pumped hydro, the ability to firm renewables, etc., etc. So it's wonderful to have that framework and that plan moving forward. I think the announcement today of Herries Range and the site moving to 2,000 megawatts, we hope to move construction seamlessly from one project to the other, so we'll finish MacIntyre and then move on to Herries Range. It shows that we can build renewables at scale, 2,000 megawatts in one location. You know, people have been talking about nuclear in recent times. I can build you 5 times the amount of nuclear for the same price in about 20% of the time. If you want to build 2,000 megawatts of nuclear, it'll take you 20 years and 20 billion. So renewables is the way forward. It's the lowest cost, and we look forward to continuing to develop projects in Queensland, and we hope we'll have lots more announcements with wonderful opportunities to have the Premier at these types of events. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're happy to take questions first on this project.
How soon before you want to build up manufacturing here, and where is the equipment coming from at the moment?
I might just get Mick to answer where it's coming from, but essentially what we want to do is we need to now set the right landscape to be able to build this here. I want to see manufacturing here, and just like we've seen the manufacturing of armoured vehicles being set up in Ipswich for Rheinmetall, just like we're seeing manufacturing being set up to do hydrogen, we need to build that capacity to actually build these turbines here in Queensland.
So the next few years, is this going to take a while?
It will take a couple of years, yes. Yeah. And
Turns out you can actually get these cheap from overseas. We used to go with the Queensland option.
well, we want to make them here, and making them here means jobs. So, we have to get the skilled labour here. We need to, like we're doing with hydrogen, linking in with the schools, linking in with the TAFEs to manufacture here. We're going to be manufacturing trains here. So, Queensland want products made in Queensland, and we're determined to do this. So, like I said, it will take a few years to scale it up, but we've got to set the landscape, we've got the plan, and now we will get the investment to go with that plan.
So if you can get it cheaper elsewhere, you're still going to go with the Queensland option just for those reasons you've outlined?
Well, made in Queensland. Yes, we want jobs here in Queensland. I want jobs here in Queensland manufacturing these things. And the more you manufacture, it's going to bring the price down. Any other questions on this?
Just wanted to know where everything's coming from.
Nick?
So in terms of the supply chain for renewable energy components, we are still seeing a lot of it being concentrated around places like China and India. I understand these blades are manufactured in India. And that's why the Premier has asked both the Deputy Premier and I to work with Queensland industry to set up manufacturing here in Australia, because that equals jobs. And there's a big difference between price and value. There's incredible value that can be obtained for Queenslanders, for our nation, if we're able to manufacture these sort of components here. And I'm proud to be working alongside the Premier, Treasurer, Deputy Premier and Queensland industry to establish those supply chains here locally.
How much is one of these cost?
I might get Brett to talk through the cost of those.
We'll get to you later.
Yeah.
Okay, any other... Want to move on to other topics?
Premier, there's been a report from the Climate Council come out today looking at the economic impact of natural disasters on Queensland. We've suffered the worst, about 30 billion since the 70s. Scientists are calling on that we need to reduce fossil fuels more urgently. When you see reports like this, is there more urgency to reduce our fossil fuels?
This is why we released this plan. 70% renewable energy by 2032. This is the clear pathway plan about our renewable energy future, and Queenslanders back this plan.
Do projects like this fast track us getting to those targets sooner?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. You are spot on. And that's why Queensland is leading the nation when it comes to having a comprehensive plan about tackling climate change.
Queensland's emissions reduction target is now worse than the federal government's. Will you look to change that in the not too distant future?
We will be working very constructively with industry, but what we know very clearly is that this plan is the most comprehensive plan that has been released in the nation.
So are you looking at lowering the emissions reduction, improving the emissions reduction target from where it's currently at?
Well, we've got key benchmarks we're setting, about 70% renewable energy by 2032. That will have a big impact.
But in terms of emissions reductions...
Yeah, I might get the Deputy Premier to address that. Yep. Thanks, Stephen.
At this stage, our focus is very much on the emissions reductions that we can achieve through our Renewable Energy and Jobs Plan. That achieving of our 50% target 2 years earlier than we anticipated. Let's remember that it wasn't that long ago people said our 50% renewable energy target was irresponsible, couldn't possibly be met. Well, we're meeting it 2 years early. That 70% target by 2032, when we showcase our state to the world with the Olympic and Paralympic Games, and then further targets, 2035 and out to 2040. They will have a massive impact on Queensland's contribution to the nation's emissions. In the modelling that rests behind those targets, we've also included the anticipated electrification of the vehicle fleet, meaning that the Renewable Energy and Jobs Plan doesn't just decarbonise our energy system, it also decarbonises much of our transport network.
Why are you reluctant not to go near that emissions reduction target?
Well, the global system relies on nations setting emissions reduction targets, and it's national government's jobs to do that. And then we will assist the national government to meet the national target with our Renewable Energy and Jobs Plan. There's no way they could meet their targets without the effort that Queensland is putting in to decarbonising our state's economy.
Queensland has a target, right?
We have a 2030 target which we intend to meet. Well, we will well meet that target with this Renewable Energy and Jobs Plan, and the targets beyond 2030 will see us continue to reduce our state's contribution to emissions. But we set a state target in the context of a national government that we did not believe was doing enough to address climate change, was not committing at a global level a sufficient contribution. Now that we have a new national government that will set an appropriate set of national targets, we will assist them to meet those national targets.
What's your response to the Climate Council report? How should Queenslanders be feeling with more extreme weather on the way?
Well, I don't think the report itself is news to anyone. We've experienced 100 natural disasters since the 2011 floods, and we continue to do so. We are working right now to rebuild communities that were affected by the floods, and we know that as the climate continues to change, Queensland will continue to be exposed, and that's why Queensland is doing our part to reduce our emissions. Also why we have a series of adaptation and mitigation projects. So our program to make homes more resilient, to buy back those that can't be made resilient, well, that is an effort to ensure that in future disasters our community is more resilient.
There's also that report in the paper today about 12 coal mines will continue operating beyond 2050. Is that why there's a reluctance to have a more ambitious target? We will see coal mines continuing to operate, particularly thermal coal mines?
Well, the coal from those mines will be accounted for in the places where it is burned and where it is used. But much of that, about 80% of Queensland's coal, is metallurgical coal. It's used for steelmaking, and at this stage we don't have a way to make these turbines without that coal. And so we will continue our effort to decarbonise our state's economy, but we will do it in a way that is responsible and in a way that makes a significant contribution to the global effort to address climate change.
Premier, why set such a low benchmark for the emissions reduction target, and why not make it more ambitious?
Yeah, but what you'll find is that over time, like at the moment, we are pursuing hydrogen as well. We are, working with companies about hydrogen trains, hydrogen trucks. There's a whole range of options here. The world is moving very, very quickly. But what we do know is, as the Deputy Premier said, metallurgical coal is needed for steelmaking. And that will continue as long as the market dictates.
So we'll meet 30% by 2030 in a canter, you reckon?
We are working very hard, and these targets will change. I think they'll change dramatically over each decade.
And you see the concern here, Premier. Obviously, you're announcing a lot with the renewables and hydrogen.
Let's just be very clear, no other state has such a comprehensive plan. You can see the evidence here. I am showing Queenslanders the wind turbines that are being manufactured at the moment and being sent out that are generating renewable energy.
Sure,
we are massively changing from a coal-fired power state in terms of energy to a renewable energy future, and Queenslanders back that.
Sure, but emissions are what causes climate change.
Yes.
There's lots of things that cause emissions, so why not set another
And guess
target?
what? Now finally we can talk about this, because for a decade the federal government failed to do so. The recklessness of the previous LNP federal government meant that we were at a snail's pace when it came to renewable energy. And now it's not a canter, it's a gallop.
The actions of the federal government don't affect your ability to set a target.
Well, no, they do, because the federal government signs up to international conventions.
But if
The federal government does that, okay?
But the federal government has a more ambitious target than Queensland. If we're helping them meet their goals, and our target.
Yeah, these targets will always change.
When are they going to change?
I said they get our plan here gets reviewed every 2 years.
So we could see those emissions reductions change?
Yes, you could.
The renewables targets change.
Sorry, no, our renewable target 70% by 2032. Well, 5 years ago we had 50%. It's increased dramatically. These targets will change.
What type of emissions reductions can we see by 2030 under your new plan? Under the renewables plan, what type of emissions?
Oh, Mick's got all that, but yeah, it's in the plan, Jack. Mick will get it to you, yeah.
Premier, do you think changing the emissions reductions target at the moment is unachievable? Is that why you didn't touch it as part of this?
No, we have a cabinet committee, subcommittee, that works towards all of this, but we are working in sync with the federal government. Okay, this is not Queensland out on its own or New South Wales out on its own. We are working together with the federal government.
Is there something else you're worried about, like push emissions up?
No. Okay.
Have you spoken to Police Commissioner Katarina Carroll since the report was announced last week?
Yes.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
She gave me her. I discussed this last week. Sorry.
So I was saying sorry, I didn't know. I covered that.
But I actually spoke about it in my press conference. She gave me her 100% commitment that she was up to the job of implementing the recommendations. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Premier,
Yeah.